if he wasn't going to testify, can also take advantage of this, Mr. Painter, if he wants to watch it. We have a live stream, although it looks like he is joining us now.
Good.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Funky, if you could unmute.
Yep, I'm just getting here. Thank you very much.
Great, welcome. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner.
Okay.
Could you give me your first name?
Mark Funky,
Funky, okay.
Funke.
Got it. And you were Spring Grove?
Spring Grove Cemetery, Vice President of Operations.
Okay, great. We were just about to get started. I just started our recording. All these recorded kept on file with the city and our YouTube live stream. Next thing I need to do is just read through the hearing script, which will basically cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll jump into it. So this is the August 31st, 2022 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner for the city of Cincinnati. I'll preside over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20220123. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. If we had anyone here from the public, they would have an opportunity to speak after the applicant had presented its case. I'll give the zoning plans examiner, Trey Sheldon, an opportunity to provide any testimony in addition to a staff report. I'll then give, in the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that or rebut that testimony. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. So for our purposes here today, guys, I'll just allow Mr. Painter and Mr. Funky an opportunity to tell me about this project, why they think it's appropriate, why I should grant the relief. And you guys can orient that presentation however you want. One or both of you can speak in any combination, any order, it doesn't really matter. I'll then give Trey an opportunity to tell me about the project. He mentioned that he may have heard from some neighboring property owners about it as well. So I'll let you guys respond to any of Trey's testimony and then make any closing remarks. I'll have some questions along the way, and then we'll close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony. So that's generally evidence that someone is trying to introduce that consists of statements made by someone who's not here at this hearing. So that's discretionary, and how much weight I put on that just depends on the testimony itself. In the event of any technical difficulties or unforeseen circumstances with Zoom, I'll do my best to troubleshoot any tech issues on the fly, but to the extent there's some problem that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay. Last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, asking any questions, making any comments, really doing anything other than just strictly observing this hearing, then you need to be sworn in. So if that's you, if you could make sure that you're off mute, I need everyone to raise their right hand and answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, great.
I do.
Okay, fantastic. All right, who's going to be taking the lead here for us today on the presentation?
I'll take the lead. This is Rob Painter.
Floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'll present maybe the technical side of what we submitted, and Mark, then if you can sort of round out the reason or the purpose that we're asking for this particular project. So as you've seen in the, and I'm not going to hold the paper up, but I'm just going to use it for my own reference. As you've seen in the submittal documents, we are proposing to grade only a section of the Spring Grove Cemetery property, much of which is in the Hillside Overlay District. This is for new grave sites. There are no new buildings. There's no retaining walls. This is strictly earth moving only. So the cemetery wishes to develop this into new gravesite areas, and they've got specific slopes that they'd like to achieve so that they're easily accessible from the existing roadway. So you can see the existing drive that we are grading from. This particular project is going to be, or is designed such that there's no import or export of material. So all material gets moved and stays on site. no trucking off, no trucking on. We're tying into the existing grades, and there's plenty of tree cover left that's not going to be disturbed between the edge of our grading area and the property lines. You can see there's a section, and Mr. Sheldon and I went through these. There's a cross section showing the maximum fill height and the maximum cut depth in order to achieve the grave site area. So I can go into more technical questions and answers if you like, but basically it's a grading only project that's balanced on site that creates about 2 acres worth of new grave area. So Mark, if you would like to, I guess, go through why you need this and why you selected this particular part of your property.
Okay, yes, the reason that we're looking at this area is because we are adjacent to a road, so we don't have to put any new roads or anything in. A lot of our property that we have developed and we're selling now and using is off of one road, and we're trying to give relief to that area because we do up to 13 burials a day, and we have to leave like a 2-hour lapse between each site, each burial on that same road. So we are limited to how many we can do in a day. We wouldn't be able to do 13 if we stayed in that area. So with this new area and the new road, it's moving us to the other side of the cemetery. Most of where we're at now is over towards Gray Road. And there's what, three plus acres over there that we're using. We want to go ahead and develop this. We use about an acre a year for burials. Do about 1,300 a year. That's the reason. We are gonna landscape and seed this just like we would every other section. We want it to look beautiful so that it is something that the families want to purchase and come to. And the grading purpose of this is we want to make this as easy for our folks to get in and out. As you can imagine, it's mostly elderly that are coming to visit, and we want it to be as smooth and level as we can, not big hills for them to climb.
Gotcha. Okay. Could you tell me a little bit more about the actual site? So is this north of the properties on Spring Lawn?
Yes.
Okay. And does the cemetery own any of those properties there at Spring Lawn and Crawford?
Just on Spring Lawn itself, there's our property. We have a gate back there. That's the edge of our property next to King Bag. So we do own some of that property, and it goes back up all the way up into College Hill.
Gotcha.
300 more acres.
Okay. All right. And so will this, so it looks like the requested relief is a total of 30 feet. I imagine that's across a large portion of land there.
Right. And if you have the drawing in front of you, you can see that there's and Henry, go ahead, or Trey, sorry, you can go ahead and jump on it if you want to. There's a fill height of around 18.5 feet plus a cut height, and they're not in the same spot. So we're filling 18 feet on the low side, and we're cutting 15 or 16 on the cut side. So when you add those two together, they're 38 feet, of which we're asking for about 30 feet of relief, since according to the Hillside District, you're allowed to cut or fill 8. So that's the 30 feet. It's not all happening all in one spot.
David, I put on my staff report, you'll see figure 7, a grading profile, and I asked in working with Mr. Painter on this, originally he had kind of an engineer schematic of it, and as he and I both kind of determined, it made it look, because of the cumulative cut and fill rule, it made it look like this was some kind of a monstrous cut, when in fact it's stretched out over over a substantial area of land. This is not like somebody's quarter acre or half acre lot here. This
Right,
is
it's
spread
over
out
500 feet from
yeah,
end to end.
over that span. So that's why I asked him to show that for both for me, for my staff report, and for your edification, to show that, because we run it, of course, at a cumulative cut and fill. So I had to go all the way down to about approximately 565 above sea level ASL number, as you'll see on that profile. I had to start there and then go all the way to the very top of the existing grade. Whereas the reality is there's no single cut and fill over that span. It's more just taking soil to the further to the east on the property and really relocating it westward in approximately the same configuration as is there further eastward. So it's just taking that soil, moving it over to there.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. That's exactly what I was wondering, how much you said. About 500 feet this stretches.
Yeah, when you look across that section from the longest point across the site, from the edge of the fill where it touches down to the edge of the cut where it touches down, that cross section is around 500 or so feet.
Got it. Okay. And Trey mentioned that there were some potential concerns about drainage.
Yeah, I can speak to. I'm sorry, I was waiting till they were finished. He asked me if I could help out or just interject. If you want me to cover that, I can.
Well,
now, at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna put it to Mr. Funky, Mr. Painter, but if you'd like to,
I can summarize. I mean, basically, I talked Mr. Painter and Mr. Funky. I spoke with a couple of surrounding landowners. Most of them were satisfied with the project. They particularly, once I explained that it was going to be entirely landscaped in keeping with the master plan of the Arboretum, they were very satisfied, because they actually go there and walk sometimes and find it very pleasant. Anyhow, the one person off of, I believe, was speaking on behalf of her elderly mother, had just a little bit of concern about any potential runoff impact onto Springlawn Avenue to the south of this area, and they just wanted. I explained to them, Mr. Painter, that per our discussion, you were doing a silt fence, and that none of the surrounding mature forest would be disturbed at all, and so on. But I couldn't directly speak to them in terms of the actual impact of runoff, and so I did provide them with your contact information. So
Okay.
she was just concerned about her mom, didn't want to see during heavy downpour a bunch of water in her mom's backyard, and that
Sure.
was of all the various people I talked to, that was the only one that expressed any concern about the project.
The drainage pattern really stays predominantly the same, and there's no new impervious surface, so it's all grass. So nothing really changes from a volume or runoff rate perspective, and it all stays in its current watershed. So we'll grade, and we'll put up silt fence, and we'll reestablish vegetation as soon as possible. No changes to the overall drainage pattern.
got it. Okay. Trey, is there anything else you wanted to add on this?
Just that I did ask that they do not have a landscape plan for. Just a minute, please. Sorry, people were speaking. I'm at the tier 1 desk right now, and people were speaking. So I asked them if they could be a little more quiet. Anyhow, I because they didn't have a landscape plan for this, which is usually a requirement, to have some kind of a landscaping detail. I asked that Mr. Funky provide a letter stating that his operations COO, basically for the cemetery and arboretum, they provide a letter stating that this would be all landscaped in a compatible manner with the master plan, which was originally produced by a famous landscape architect, over about 150 years ago. So anyhow, he indicated so on that, and that they'll be planting specimen trees. And I would point out, David, that I don't know if you've been to Spring Grove before, as I know you grew up in Erie, but it's actually a gorgeous place. It's a nationally recognized, even internationally recognized arboretum that has some tree specimens that are national champions and a multitude of state champion trees. So basically, this is a beautiful place. It's not just lawn. It's not just grass. They have a bunch of pools here and stuff that help handle the spring runoff from the springs, and they also have it's just landscaped accordingly to standards for national arboretum, a national registered arboretum. So
I live in Northside. I live on Poland, so
oh, okay.
lots from the cemetery.
All right. Anyhow, yeah.
I'm familiar with it. Is it true that there was some inspiration for Central Park based on Spring Grove Cemetery?
I think some of I think they were the planners both knew each other, and there was mutual inspiration. They were both part of the same landscape planning movement, from what I understand. Kind of like an interesting tie with the Roebling Bridge and the Brooklyn Bridge from Cincinnati to New York. Similar connections. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Mr. Funky, did you want to jump in there?
Yeah, no, Adolph Strout was the planner that started with Spring Grove and did that. And he did many cemeteries up in the Northeast. And as gentleman spoke on the Central Park and that, yeah, there was the whole horticultural movement at that time that designed different cemeteries and city parks throughout the Northeast.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So anything else? I don't think I have any more questions about the project and the application. I could ask a lot of questions about the cemetery. I do think it's a pretty great place. But anything else you guys wanted to share before we adjourn on the application today?
Do you have anything, Rob?
No, I think that's it. I think I'm good.
Okay, great. Yeah, let's leave it at that then. I've had a chance to review the application materials. And based on that and the testimony that I've heard here today, I am going to approve the project. I need to formalize that decision in a written opinion. That usually is what takes a little bit longer. I'll try to get that, or that's usually what takes the 2 weeks that I mentioned in the beginning. But I'll try and get that out to you as soon as I can. Once I finish that, I put it into a PDF and I email it to you guys. So you'll have it really just moments after it's complete. As soon as you have that written decision with the approval on it, Trey can okay all the permitting and you guys can get started. Any questions about any of that right now?
No, yeah, we're anxious to get started because we're into the late season and we want to be able to hopefully get some grass on there before the cold winter. We don't want to have to deal with runoff and stuff.
Sure. So I will get it out to you as soon as I can. I'll try to expedite that.
Thank you.
If you guys have any questions in the meantime, or you'd like a status update on where I'm at with the decision, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to respond to those requests or answer any questions you guys have. And yeah, I think that's it. Want to thank you guys all again for your time and your testimony. Good luck with the project.
Rob, I did have one brief thing. I think is the building plan examiner already signed off on this?
Yeah.
Permitting. Okay.
Yes.
And by way of explanation, David, there was some initially, Rob was unaware that this was in the hillside because it's very patchy. I put the hillside overlay on there and the little patches that cover this. And so that caused a bit of a delay. They were not anticipating having to have a hearing. And so I just wanted to explain that caused a bit of delay. But as soon as his decision's issued, I will flip that permit immediately so that you'll be ready. And it should be available. The permit should be available for pickup within a matter of a day or two after I approve. So it should be a pretty quick turnaround after the decision. So I just wanted to let you know for scheduling purposes, Mr. Funky.
Okay, so we could probably, if the construction company has equipment to move, they could start moving some of the stuff in, or should we wait?
I don't see any reason they can't
do anything. They're just going to park it here.
Yeah, I don't think that's any problem whatsoever.
Okay. Thank both of you very much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
We'll have